The acquisition papers sat in front of me. $450 million. Datacrest Technologies' largest deal to date. My phone buzzed for the third time in 20 minutes. Mom. I let it ring. David Morrison, my CEO, glanced up from across the mahogany conference table. You need to take that? Family dinner, I said. She's been calling since noon. Ah, he nodded knowingly. The dreaded obligation. I almost smiled. The phone buzzed again. This time, a text. Important. Everyone will be there. 6 p.m., please don't cancel. I looked at the papers. At the 16 signatures already collected. At the one blank line waiting for mine. Chairman of the board. 8 years. I'd built this company from a 2-bedroom apartment in Seattle. 23 employees had become 14,000. Revenue had grown from 0 to 2.8 billion annually. Go, David said, reading my face. The papers can wait until tomorrow's board meeting. You sure? Your signature's the only thing that matters, but family. He paused. Family's complicated. I stood, grabbed my jacket. Thanks, David. I'll see you Thursday. Good luck, he called as I reached the door. I'd need it. I was on drive to my parents' house. That'll took 40 minutes. My phone buzzed. 5:53 p.m. Mom, you're still coming, right? I pulled into the driveway at 5:58. 2 minutes early. I walked through the front door. The house smelled like Mom's roast. Voices came from the living room. Louder than usual, hung my jacket on the coat rack. Straightened my tie. Force of habit from the boardroom. He's here, Mom called from the kitchen. I walked into the living room. Dad stood near the fireplace. Uncle Bob, Aunt Susan. 3 cousins I barely knew. Brother Steve and his girlfriend, Amanda. All eyes turned to me. Dad smiled. The smile that never quite reached his eyes. Everyone. His voice carried that forced enthusiasm, like he was introducing a disappointing exhibit at a museum. This is my son, the underachiever. The room laughed. Sympathetic laughter. The kind reserved for the family member who never quite figured it out. Uncle Bob chuckled, beer in hand. Still trying different things, huh? It's okay, Aunt Susan added quickly. Her hand touched my arm. Gentle. Not everyone finds their path right away. Cousin Mike, the one who'd barely graduated high school, patted my shoulder. Hey man, no shame. Everyone's timeline is different. My jaw clenched. The muscles in my neck tightened like steel cables. But I smiled. Thanks, I said. Voice flat. Good to see everyone. Dad had already moved on, talking to Uncle Bob about the Seahawks. I stood there, jacket gone. Dignity checked at the door. Same as always. Dinner started at 6:30. The dining table stretched long enough for 12 people. Mom had gone all out. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans. Dinner rolls that probably cost more effort than they were worth. Everyone settled in, talking over each other. The din of family. Dad sat at the head. Naturally. Steve, he said, cutting into his roast. How's the new position treating you? My brother lit up. He'd been waiting for this. Incredible, actually. Steve set down his fork, prepared for a performance. So, they promoted me to senior manager last month. Regional sales division. That's fantastic, Mom beamed. What's the bump? Uncle Bob asked. Always about money with Bob. 55,000, Steve said. Couldn't hide the pride. Base went from 140 to 195, Aunt Susan gasped. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's my boy, Dad raised his wine glass. To success, everyone toasted. Glasses clinked, including mine. I thought about my morning, the $450 million acquisition, my salary, $850,000 annually. My equity stake, 42% of a company worth $2.8 billion. $180 million. Give or take. I took a sip of wine. The best part, Steve continued, momentum building, is that I'll be presenting at the National Sales Conference in March. CEO is going to be there. David Morrison himself. Amanda squeezed his hand. I'm so proud of you. You should be, Dad said. That's real achievement. Building something. The roast felt like concrete in my stomach. Sister Sarah jumped in next, her law firm, a case she'd won. Billable hours that would make her $250,000 this year. Cousin Mike talked about his construction business. Aunt Susan about her book club. Uncle Bob asked about everyone's vacation plans. 40 minutes passed. Nobody asked me a single question. At one point, during a lull in conversation, Uncle Bob looked over. So, he speared a green bean. What have you been up to these days? I opened my mouth. Dad beat me to it. Same old, same old. He didn't even look at me, reaching for the potatoes. Trying different ventures, testing the waters. Uncle Bob nodded. That knowing nod. Still searching for your thing. I get it. Took me until I was 35 to figure out my path. Different strokes, Aunt Susan added helpfully. Steve caught my eye. For just a second, I saw something there. Like relief that he wasn't me. You'll land somewhere eventually, he said. Not everyone's cut out for the corporate grind, you know? Maybe you're more of a creative type. I cut my roast. Each piece required more effort than the last. The conversation moved on. Flowed around me like water around a stone. Dinner lasted 2 hours. 2 hours of listening to achievements. Promotions, raises, vacation homes, new cars. At 8:27, I started gathering my things. Leaving already? Mom asked. Disappointed but not surprised. Early morning tomorrow, I said. Not a lie. Board meeting at 7 a.m. Of course, Dad's voice, distant, already talking to Steve about golf. I thanked Mom for dinner. She hugged me. The same hug she'd given me since I was 12. I grabbed my jacket from the rack. That's when the doorbell rang. Mom looked confused. Who could that be? She opened the door. David Morrison stood there. My CEO. Suit perfectly pressed despite the late hour. That confident posture he'd developed from 2 decades in tech. Mrs. Patterson, he said warmly. I'm so sorry I'm late. Meeting ran longer than expected. My stomach dropped. Oh, Mom brightened. No worries at all. Come in. David stepped inside, looked around, took in the family gathering. Then he saw me. His eyes widened. Just slightly. Sir. The word came out louder than he'd intended. He walked straight over, extended his hand. I didn't know you'd be here. The room went quiet, like someone had hit pause on reality. I shook his hand, kept my voice level. Just leaving, actually. Steve walked out of the kitchen, stopped dead when he saw his boss. Amanda froze behind him. Wait. Mom looked between us. You two know each other? David glanced at me, then at Steve, then back at me. Realization dawned on his face like a slow-motion car crash. Know each other? He laughed, nervous. He's the board chairman. He signs my paychecks. You could have heard a pin drop. Steve's phone slipped from his hand, clattered on the hardwood floor. Amanda's mouth opened. Uncle Bob's beer paused halfway to his lips. Dad walked out of the living room. What? David looked genuinely confused now. You didn't know? Know what? Dad's voice had that edge, the one that came before anger. David gestured to me, like he was presenting evidence. Your son. He's the chairman of the board for Datacrest Technologies, the entire company. I report directly to him. Everyone reports to him. Steve made a sound. Somewhere between a cough and a choke. His wine glass, still in his hand, started shaking. Board chairman? Steve's voice cracked. You're the chairman? I buttoned my jacket. Yeah. But, he looked me. But you never said, you never asked. Heavy, suffocating silence. Dad's face had gone through several colors, landing on a deep red. How long? His voice barely above a whisper. How long what? How long have you been? He gestured vaguely. Couldn't even say it. Chairman, 3 years, Founded the company 8 years ago. We went public 5 years back. 8 years? Yep. Mom sat down slowly on the nearest chair, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. And you let us... She trailed off. Let you what? I asked. Voice calm. Too calm. Let us think you were... Aunt Susan tried. An underachiever? I finished for her. Looked at Dad. Yeah, I did. Steve set his wine glass down before he dropped it. His hands were still trembling. Wait. His voice sounded small. Foreign. Datacrest Technologies? That's a $2.8 billion company, David supplied quietly. Clearly wished he was anywhere else. 14,000 employees in 6 continents, as I heard. And you? Steve looked at me. You founded it? In a 2-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. You drove past it once, made a joke about anyone living there being a failure. His face drained of color. Amanda whispered something to him. He didn't respond. Dad still stood frozen. Uncle Bob's beer had been forgotten entirely. I'm sorry, David said to me, professionally apologetic. I didn't mean to cause... It's fine, I cut him off. You didn't know. I looked at my family. Dad's face, embarrassment. Mom's face, shock. Steve's face, something between horror and disbelief. Sarah had walked in from the living room. Her hand covered her mouth. The cousins who'd patted my shoulder. The aunt who'd pitied me. The uncle who'd compared me to his own struggles. All staring. Why? Mom's voice broke. Why didn't you tell us? I smiled. Because every time I tried, you cut me off. Told me to wait, changed the subject, made jokes. We didn't. Christmas, 2 years ago, I tried to share about our Series C funding. Dad interrupted me to hear about Sarah's partnership. Then you gave me a $50 Amazon card while Steve got a MacBook Pro. I'd signed an $80 million contract that morning. But we didn't know, Dad said. Exactly. I looked at each of them. And after a while, I realized something. You didn't want to know. You wanted your version of me. The one who hadn't figured it out. The one you could feel sorry for. The one who made everyone else look better by comparison. So I stopped trying. I walked toward the door. David stepped aside. Before I left, I turned back one more time. Congrats on senior manager, by the way. That $55,000 raise? That's genuinely impressive. You earned it. Steve's face crumpled. For what it's worth? I opened the door. I'm not the underachiever. I never was. You just never bothered to look. The cold November air hit my face. Behind me, silence. I walked to my car, started the engine. My phone lit up before I even pulled out of the driveway. 17 missed calls. I turned it off. I made it 3 blocks before curiosity got the better of me. Turned the phone back on. 42 missed calls in 18 minutes. The voicemails started immediately. One after another. A cascade of panic and damage control. I pulled into a 7-Eleven parking lot. Put the car in park. Hit play. First message. From my mom, 6 minutes ago. Honey, please call us back. We need to talk about this. David just explained everything and Her voice cracked. Why didn't you tell us? 8 years? How could we not know our own son founded a... Background noise. Dad's voice. Let me talk to him. He's not answering. Just, oh God, what have we done? Delete. Second message. Was from Dad, 4 minutes ago. Son? Long pause. Heavy breathing. I don't know what to say. Christ, I'm sorry. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know if you never... Stops himself. That's not fair. David showed us the company website. Your picture. Board of directors. It's all there. We should have... Another long pause. Please call me back. Third message yet was from Steve, 3 minutes ago. His voice shook. The chairman. You're the chairman. Morrison kept talking about the chairman in meetings, but he never used your name. He always just said, sir, or the board. I never... Jesus Christ. A female voice in the background. Amanda, probably. My promotion. That big raise I was bragging about. You signed off on it, didn't you? You approved my salary, my position, everything. Bitter laugh. I'm such an idiot. Please, can we talk? I need to. I scrolled through the others. Listened to a few. Sarah, apologizing through tears. Aunt Susan, trying to explain. Uncle Bob, wanting to clear the air. Cousin Mike left 3 messages, each one more awkward than the last. The last voicemail was from Mom again. Left 2 minutes ago. Your father is sitting at the table, just sitting there, staring at nothing. David stayed for a bit. Explained more about Datacrest, about what you've built. He said you revolutionized enterprise software, that you're considered one of the top innovators in tech. Sniffling. We knew none of it. Not because you hid it. Because we never looked. We never asked. And now I'm sitting here wondering what kind of parents. The message cut off. I sat in my car. Engine running. 7-Eleven's fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. A teenager walked past. Slurpee in hand. Probably stressed about a math test. I envied him. The calls kept coming. I put the phone on silent. Drove home to my apartment in Belltown. 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. I'd bought it 3 years ago. Cash. $4.2 million. My parents had never seen it. Never asked where I lived. I poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey. Sat on the couch. Stared at the city lights. My phone screen glowed. Texts flooding in. One caught my eye. Marcus Chen, college roommate. We'd lost touch after graduation but reconnected last year. Bro, just saw your family drama blow up in a group chat. Steve's girlfriend posted about it. You good? Of course Amanda posted about it. I typed back, define good. 3 dots appeared immediately. Want company? I can be there in 20. I almost said no. Yeah, bring food. On it. Ty okay? Perfect. Marcus arrived 30 minutes later. 2 bags of takeout and a bottle of decent bourbon. So, he said, setting everything on my kitchen island. Your family found out you're a billionaire. I'm not a billionaire. Right, just worth $180 million. Totally different. I opened the Thai food. Pad Thai, green curry, spring rolls. How'd they not know? Marcus asked. Genuinely curious, not judging. I didn't tell them. For 8 years? Yep. Why? I thought about it. You remember my graduation? I finally asked. Marcus nodded slowly. From UW? Yeah, I remember. My parents didn't come. I remember that too. Steve had a work presentation that day. Some quarterly sales review for his regional team. Mom said they couldn't miss it. It was important for his career. Marcus's face darkened. Oh. I got my degree in computer science, top of my class. Had 3 job offers from major tech companies, and I walked across that stage alone. The memory still stung. 5 years later. You know who was there? I continued. Professor Chen, my algorithms teacher. She came because she knew my family wasn't. Afterward, she took me to dinner. Told me I had potential, that I could build something important. She was right. She was. But my family? I shook my head. They never asked about it. Steve's presentation went well, apparently. That's what mattered. Marcus poured bourbon, slid a glass toward me. So you stopped trying? Not immediately. I tried. For a while. Datacrest went public on a rainy Tuesday in March. I'd invited my family, sent formal invitations, called personally. It's our IPO, I'd explained to Mom. The company's going public. It's a big deal. Oh, honey, that's wonderful. She'd sounded genuinely happy. When is it? March 15th, NASDAQ opening bell ceremony. I'll send you all the details. March 15th. Pause. Keyboard typing. Oh no, that's the same day as Steve's awards banquet. He's getting recognition for top sales performance in his region. My stomach had sank. It's at the NASDAQ, I tried again. In New York. I can fly you all out, first class, put you up at the Ritz. I'm sorry, sweetie, but Steve's banquet is really important. He's worked so hard for this recognition. Mom, maybe next time? I'm sure you'll have other company events. I'd stood in my empty apartment, phone pressed to my ear. Yeah, I'd said quietly. Sure, next time. I went to the IPO alone. Well, not alone. David was there. Elena Torres, my board member. Marcus flew out as a surprise. The opening bell rang. Datacrest shares opened at $42. By end of day, they closed at $68. We'd raised $1.2 billion. Made me $180 million overnight. I called my parents that evening, told them how it went. That's great, honey, Mom had said. Distracted. Oh, Steve just got home. We're celebrating his award. Can I call you back? She never did. Present day in Marcus's apartment. Jesus, Marcus said softly. That's when I stopped trying, I continued. I realized they'd never see me, not unless someone forced them to look. And tonight, someone did. Tonight, David Morrison walked into their house and told them the truth. Marcus refilled our glasses. What now? Now? I shrugged. Now they know, and they'll either accept it or they won't. You're not going to call them back? Eventually, but not tonight. Tonight, they can sit with it. We ate in silence for a few minutes. You know what's funny? I finally said. What? Steve's raise. That $55,000 he was so proud of. I approved it personally, reviewed his performance metrics. His sales numbers were legitimately impressive. He earned that promotion. Did you know he was your brother when you approved it? No. HR strips identifying information for executive reviews, just employee numbers and performance data. I found out 2 months later when I cross-referenced division rosters. And you didn't say anything. Why would I? His work was good. He deserved it. Marcus looked at me. You're a better man than I'd be. I just kept work and family separate. Yeah? Because your family never asked about your work. Exactly. The next morning, I woke up to 63 new messages. I ignored all of them except one. Email from David Morrison. Sir, I apologize for last night. I had no idea your family was unaware of your position. Mrs. Patterson introduced me as Steve's boss, who was joining for dinner. I assumed they knew the connection. Steve came to my office this morning, asked if his position was secure. I assured him that his employment is based entirely on his performance, which has been excellent. He seemed relieved but also deeply shaken. He asked me not to tell anyone about the family connection. I informed him that I don't discuss employee relationships outside of necessary business contexts. I wanted you to know that this situation won't affect how I work with him professionally. However, if you'd prefer I transfer him to another division, I can arrange it discreetly. Best regards, David. I read it twice. Then typed a response. David. No need to apologize. The situation was bound to come out eventually. Don't transfer Steve. He's earned his position. Keep him where he is. His performance should determine his career path, not his relationship to me. See you at the board meeting Thursday. James. I hit send. Felt oddly satisfied. Steve would have to live with the knowledge. Work under the shadow of his unknown brother. But he'd keep his job. Keep his success. Just with context he'd lacked before. My assistant Jennifer called at 9. Good morning, she said cheerfully. Ready for your 10 o'clock with the acquisition team? Ready as I'll ever be. Great. Also, she paused. There's a situation. What kind of situation? Your parents are in the lobby. I closed my eyes. They've been here since 8:30, Jennifer continued. Building security called me. They're asking to see you. Did you tell them I'm busy? I did. They said they'll wait. Of course they would. Give me 10 minutes, I said. Then send them up. They walked into my office exactly 10 minutes later. Mom. Dad. Both looking like they hadn't slept. My office occupied the entire southeast corner of the 48th floor. 1,600 square feet. Glass walls on 2 sides. Seattle skyline spread out like a promise. Mom stopped just inside the door. Stared. You built this? 8 years ago, I confirmed. Started with 23 employees in a co-working space in Capitol Hill. Moved here 3 years ago. Dad walked to the window. Looked down at the city 48 floors below. Data Crest Technologies, he read off the building across the street. Our name in 8-foot letters. Your name is on the building. Technically the company's name, but yes. Mom sat down slowly in one of my visitor chairs. Italian leather, hand-stitched. Why? Her voice barely above a whisper. Why didn't you tell us? I leaned back in my chair. The same chair I'd sat in through hundreds of meetings, negotiations, critical decisions. I tried, multiple times. You weren't interested. That's not fair. Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. I cut her off. Voice level. Factual. I started to mention our Series C funding. Dad interrupted to hear about Sarah's partnership. I waited, tried again. Uncle Bob changed the subject. Dad turned from the window, face red. You should have insisted. Should I have? I met his eyes. Because every time I tried to talk about my work, someone in the family made it clear it wasn't worth hearing about. After a while, I got the message. We didn't mean, last Christmas, I got a $50 Amazon gift card. Steve got a MacBook Pro, an Apple Watch, and $500 in Best Buy cards. The card said, buy yourself something practical. Mom's face crumpled. I'd signed an $80 million contract that morning, I continued. Restructured our entire enterprise architecture division. But you needed me to be practical. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. We didn't know, Dad finally said. Defensive. Angry at himself. How could we know? You could have asked. Any time in the last 8 years. What do you do for work? How's your job going? Tell me about your day. You never volunteered. Because you never gave me space to. My voice stayed calm. Too calm. Every conversation was about Steve's promotions, Sarah's cases, other people's achievements. And when someone did ask about me, you answered for me. Still trying different things. Searching for his path? He'll figure it out eventually? Mom was crying now. Quiet tears streaming down her face. You wanted a version of me that made everyone else's success feel bigger? The struggling son, the underachiever, the one who justified your attention being elsewhere. That's not true, Dad protested. Weak. Isn't it? I pulled up my email, showed them the screen. Here's my calendar for the past month. 17 board meetings, 9 acquisition discussions, 3 keynote speeches, 42 executive briefings. I'm busier than I've ever been. But you know how many times you've called to ask how I'm doing? They said nothing. 0. You called yesterday for dinner. Before that? 6 months ago. Steve's birthday party. Jennifer knocked softly on the door, poked her head in. Your 10 o'clock is waiting. Thanks. We're wrapping up. Mom stood, wiped her eyes. Can we? She tried. Can we have coffee, soon? Talk about this properly? I thought about it. Maybe, in a few months. I need time. Months? Dad's voice rose. You had 8 years, I said quietly. I need a few months. They left. Mom crying. Dad's jaw set in that stubborn way he had. Jennifer came in after they'd gone. You okay? Honestly? I don't know. She set a coffee on my desk. For what it's worth, I've worked for you for 3 years. You never mention your family. Now I understand why. Yeah. Also, she continued, Steve Patterson's girlfriend posted something on Facebook last night. It's going viral in Seattle tech circles. My stomach dropped. What kind of something? She showed me her phone. Amanda Chen. When you spend dinner bragging about your $55K raise to your boyfriend's underachiever brother, and then his boss shows up and calls him sir because he's the board chairman of the entire company. I'm dating an idiot. We've been laughing at a man worth $180 million. 4,000 shares. 800 comments. Great. It gets better, Jennifer said, not helpfully. Seattle tech gossip picked it up. They're calling it the underachiever revelation. I put my head in my hands. Want me to call legal? Jennifer asked. No, let it spread. Maybe it'll save me from explaining at the next family gathering. Silver lining, she agreed. The calls continued all week. Aunt Susan, Uncle Bob, cousins I'd barely spoken to in years. Everyone suddenly very interested in my life. I ignored most of them, responded to a few with brief texts. Need time, we'll reach out when ready. Friday afternoon, I got an email that stopped me cold. From Steve. PattersonDatacrest.com. Subject, resignation. James, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I can't work here anymore. Not after knowing. Every time someone mentions the board chairman, I think about dinner. About calling you a creative type who couldn't handle corporate life. About patting your shoulder like you were some struggling kid. I'm good at my job. I know that now. But I can't separate my performance from the fact that you approved it. That you signed off on my promotion. My raise. Everything. Every meeting with David feels like pity. Every presentation feels like it only matters because you let it matter. I'm submitting my 2 weeks notice Monday. I've already started looking at positions at other companies. I know I don't deserve your time. But if you're willing to meet before I go, I'd like to apologize properly. Face to face. Not over email. Steve. I read it 3 times. Then I hit reply. I stared at Steve's resignation email for a long time. Part of me wanted to accept it. Let him go. Make his escape easy. But that felt wrong too. I typed slowly. Steve, your resignation is denied. Not because I want to make your life difficult. Because running away doesn't fix what's broken. You're good at your job. That's not charity. That's fact. Your performance metrics rank in the top 15% of your division. Your client retention rate is 87%. Your team consistently hits targets. I didn't give you those numbers. You earned them. If you want to leave because you genuinely found a better opportunity, I'll write you a recommendation letter myself. But if you're leaving because you're embarrassed, because you can't handle knowing the truth, that's on you to work through. Not on me to make easier. Take the weekend. Think about it. If you still want to quit Monday, we'll process your resignation. But I won't accept it today. Coffee. Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Espresso vivace on Capitol Hill. We'll talk. And then you can decide. James. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The weekend passed in a blur of work and silence. Monday morning, I arrived at the office at 6:30. Jennifer was already there. She always was. Steve responded, she said, handing me coffee. I opened the email. Tuesday, 7 a.m. I'll be there. Short, direct. Also, Jennifer continued, you should see this. She showed me her phone again. Twitter this time. A thread. Posted 3 days ago. Going viral. A tech insider. C. Thread. The data crest. Underachiever's story is even wilder than reported. Here's what we've uncovered about James Patterson, the 32-year-old chairman who hid his success from his family for 8 years. Patterson founded DataCrest in 2017 at age 24. Started in a 2-bedroom apartment with $30K in savings and a revolutionary enterprise software concept. By 2020, the company had 400 employees and 120 in Series C funding. Patterson owned 58% of the company. March 2022, DataCrest went public. IPO raised 1.2 B. Stock opened at $42, closed at $68. Patterson's stake worth 180 Mars overnight. Today, DataCrest is worth 2.8 B, employs 14,000 plus people globally. Patterson still owns 42%, diluted through acquisitions but still worth a fortune. Meanwhile, his family reportedly called him the underachiever for years. Thought he was struggling, gave him $50 gift cards while his brother got MacBooks. The kicker? His brother works at DataCrest, got promoted to senior manager, had no idea his brother founded and chairs the company. Family found out when the CEO showed up at dinner and called Patterson, Sir. Brother's girlfriend live tweeted the whole thing. Patterson apparently tried to tell them multiple times but was consistently shut down. Eventually, just stopped trying. Tech community is split. Some say he should have tried harder. Others say family showed who they were. What do you think? 15,000 retweets. 30,000 likes. I scrolled through the comments. Startup grinder. Imagine being so dismissive that your son builds a 3B company and you don't notice. And tech mom life. This is every family dinner where relatives ask, still doing that computer thing? While you're running infrastructure for half the internet. AVC Insider. Patterson revolutionized enterprise software architecture, published 3 white papers that are now industry standard, and his family thought he was unemployed. Seattle Local. I went to UW with James Patterson. Dude graduated top of his class. His family didn't show up to graduation. Now this makes sense. That last comment punched me in the gut. It's everywhere, Jennifer said quietly. Seattle Times picked it up this morning. Forbes is running a profile Wednesday. Great. Could be worse. They're mostly sympathetic to you. Sure. My family humiliation is now international news. Much better. Jennifer smiled despite herself. Silver lining. Your Q4 revenue projections look excellent. Tuesday morning. 6:55 a.m. Espresso vivace. I got there first, ordered a double espresso, sat at a corner table. Steve walked in at 6:58. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. Suit wrinkled, hair uncombed. He ordered coffee, sat across from me. We stared at each other for a long moment. I'm sorry, he finally said. For what specifically? He flinched. All of it? That's not an answer. Steve took a breath, steadied himself. For calling you an underachiever. For patting your shoulder like you needed encouragement. For bragging about my raise, your raise, at dinner. For never once asking about your life. Okay? That's it? Okay? You apologized. I accepted. What else is there? Steve's hands gripped his coffee cup, knuckles white. How are you this calm? Because I had 3 years to process this. You've had 5 days. 3 years, he repeated. Shook his head. You knew for 3 years that I worked for your company and said nothing. I found out 2 months after your promotion. What was I supposed to do? Call you at work and announce myself? Yes, maybe. I don't know. His voice rose. A few other customers glanced over. He lowered it again. Amanda broke up with me. Ah. When? Sunday. Said she couldn't date someone who was that blind to his own family. That if I couldn't see my brother's success, how would I see hers? I'm sorry. Don't be. He laughed bitterly. She was right. I spent 2 years with you and never once asked what you did for a living. I just assumed. You assumed wrong. Yeah. He stared into his coffee. David's been great, professional. But everyone else at work knows now. They whisper. Point. Yesterday, someone asked me if I got my job because of you. What did you say? That I earned it based on my metrics, but I don't know if they believed me. Do you believe it? Steve looked up. Met my eyes. Honestly? I'm not sure anymore. Then look at your performance reviews. The ones from before anyone knew. Read your client feedback, your team evaluations. The data doesn't lie. But you're good at your job, Steve. That's fact. Whether you believe it or not doesn't change the numbers. He sat back. Processed this. Why did you help me? Help you? My promotion. You must have seen my name somewhere. You could have blocked it, transferred me, fired me. Instead, you approved a $55,000 raise. I sipped my espresso, considered how to explain. Because your work was good. Period. I don't let personal feelings dictate business decisions. That's how companies fail. But I treated you like you'd been taught to treat me. I cut him off. By our parents, by the family, by everyone who decided I was the underachiever before I'd even proven otherwise. Silence. I'm not quitting, Steve finally said. Good. But I need to know, are we okay? Define okay. Brothers. Can we be brothers again? Eventually, maybe, but not yet. How long? As long as it takes. You want instant forgiveness? Call mom. She'll give it to you because she feels guilty. And you won't? I will. When I'm ready. When you've actually changed, not just apologized. Steve nodded slowly. Fair. We finished our coffee in silence. As he stood to leave, he paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you built. Who you are. Thanks. Even if I'm 3 years late saying it. Yeah, even then. The weeks that followed were strange. Work continued as normal. Acquisition closed. Q4 earnings exceeded projections. Datacrest stock jumped 12%. But outside work, everything felt different. Extended family members kept reaching out. Aunt Susan called 4 times, left voicemails about clearing the air and family unity. Uncle Bob sent a long email explaining why he'd made those searching for your path comments. Apparently, he'd meant them encouragingly. Sure. Cousin Mike texted, Dude, can you invest in my construction company? I need $200K. I blocked his number. 3 weeks after the dinner, Elena Torres invited me to lunch. Elena had been on Datacrest's board since our Series A, former CEO of a Fortune 500, one of the most respected women in tech. We met at the Walrus and the Carpenter. Oysters and white wine. I read the articles, she said without preamble. Great. You and everyone else. I wanted to tell you something. Last year's holiday party, I met your parents. I looked up. What? They came as Steve's guests. He brought them to show off his workplace. I overheard your father talking to another employee, bragging about Steve's position, his success. My chest tightened. I asked about his other children. He mentioned you. Said you were still figuring things out. That you'd probably find your way eventually. Of course he did. I told him I was on Datacrest's board. Asked if he knew you'd founded the company. He laughed. Thought I was joking. I set down my wine glass before I squeezed it too hard. When I insisted I was serious, he got quiet. Then changed the subject. Didn't believe me, or didn't want to. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know something. Elena's voice was firm, direct. You don't owe them your success. You don't owe them reconciliation. You don't owe them anything. I know. Do you? Because from what I've seen, you're already softening. Meeting with Steve, considering coffee with your parents. And that's fine if you want to, but make sure it's for you, not for them. I sat with that. You built something remarkable, Elena continued, from nothing. While they dismissed you, you owe yourself protection from people who can't see your value. Even if they're family? Especially if they're family. Family's supposed to see you first, not last, and never only after someone else points you out. That night, I got a call from Marcus. How you holding up? Surviving. Elena Torres just validated every bitter thought I've had. Good. You need that. Also, there's something you should know. What? Your mom called me. I sat up. What? She got my number from Sarah, asked if I could talk to you, convince you to have dinner with them. What did you say? That I'm your friend, not their messenger service. Also that she had 8 years to have dinner with you and didn't. Despite everything, I smiled. She cried. Said she just wants her son back. She never had me to begin with. That's what I told her. You're a good friend. I know. Also, she mentioned something interesting. Your parents are getting comments from their friends. Apparently, everyone in their social circle read the articles. Keep asking about you. About Datacrest. Oh? Your dad's golf buddies are giving him hell. Asking why he never mentioned his son founded a multi-billion-dollar company. Your mom's book club wants to know if you're single. I laughed. Couldn't help it. They're embarrassed, Marcus continued. Socially. Their friends know. Their neighbors know. Everyone knows they had no idea what their own son built. Good. Cold, but good. 6 weeks after the dinner, I agreed to coffee with my parents. Not because they'd worn me down, because I needed to say certain things face to face. We met at a neutral location, Starbucks in Fremont. Public. Time limited. They looked older somehow. Worn. Thank you for meeting us, Mom said immediately. I can give you 30 minutes. Dad nodded. Accepted the boundary. We've been thinking, Mom started. About everything. About how we treated you. What we missed. Okay. We want to make it right. How? Dad leaned forward. We talked to a financial advisor about our retirement accounts. We could give you... No. But I don't need your money, Dad. I make more in a month than you've saved in your lifetime. I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it so you understand. Money doesn't fix this. Mom's eyes welled up. Then what does? She asked. Tell us what we can do. Nothing. That's the point. There's nothing you can do. Because the damage wasn't one moment. It was 8 years of moments. And you can't undo them. So that's it? Dad's voice rose. We're just done? No. We're just not what we were. We probably never were. You're our son. Am I? Or am I the version of your son you wanted? The struggling one who made Steve look better? The underachiever who justified your focus being elsewhere? That's not fair, Mom protested. Maybe not, but it's true. And until you can admit that we can't move forward. I stood. Maybe coffee in 6 months, maybe not. But I need time. Real time. Not guilt-driven apology tours. I left them sitting there. It felt terrible and liberating all at once. Months passed. Summer turned to fall. Fall to winter. Work consumed me. 2 more acquisitions. European expansion. Product launches. Steve and I spoke occasionally, professionally at first, then slightly warmer. He was trying. Actually trying. Showed up to board presentations prepared. Asked thoughtful questions about my decisions. Sent articles about company culture with, thought you might find this interesting. Small things, but consistent. Sarah reached out too, less dramatically than the others. Just a text every few weeks. Thinking of you. Proud of what you've built. No pressure, just wanted you to know. I appreciated that. The no-pressure approach. Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, called in November. I was at your graduation, she said without preamble. What? 5 years ago, UW graduation. I drove down from Bellingham, sat in the back, watched you walk across that stage alone. My throat tightened. I wanted to say something, to your parents. But I'm a coward. I kept quiet. Let them miss it. Why are you telling me this now? Because I should have said something then. Should have told them how wrong they were. How blind. I failed you. Linda, let me finish. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I stayed quiet. I'm sorry I let them treat you like you didn't matter. And I'm sorry it took a public revelation for anyone to wake up. Tears I didn't know I was holding broke free. Thank you, I managed. You deserved better. You still do. Whatever you decide about your parents, about all of us, I support you. Even if that decision is to walk away. December arrived. 6 months exactly since the dinner. I got an email from Mom. Subject: Annual Christmas Dinner, December 24th. Dear James, it's been 6 months. We've tried to give you space, tried to process everything. We're having our annual Christmas Eve dinner, the whole family. We'd really like you to be there. No expectations, no pressure, just dinner. A chance to be together. If you're not ready, we understand. But the invitation is there. Love, Mom. I stared at the email for 3 days, made a pros and cons list, talked to Marcus, to Elena, to Jennifer, finally called Steve. Should I come? I asked. Do you want to? I don't know. Then come. See how it feels. You can always leave. Can I? Yeah. You proved that 6 months ago. Difference now is they know what they're losing if you walk out. Smart kid. When did he get smart? If I come, I said slowly, things will be different. I know. No more underachiever jokes. No more dismissing my work. No more cutting me off. I'll make sure of it. Promise? I promise. And if they start, I'll call it out. You have my word. I took a breath. Okay, I'll come. December 24th, 6:45 p.m. I sat in my car outside my parents' house, the same house I'd left 6 months ago, phone ringing, wine glass shaking, brother's face draining of color. It looked exactly the same, but everything was different. I could see shapes moving through the lit windows, family gathering, dinner being set. My phone buzzed. Steve, you coming? Me. In the driveway. Steve, take your time, no rush. I took a breath. Then another. Opened the car door. Steve met me at the entrance. Alone. Hey. We stood there. Two brothers who'd barely known each other for 32 years. They're nervous, he said quietly. Mom's been rearranging the same centerpiece for 20 minutes. Dad keeps checking his watch. And you? Terrified you'll leave again, but ready to back you up if you do. I looked at him. He'd changed, lost weight, hair shorter. But more than that, he held himself differently. Less swagger, more substance. You look different, I said. Feel different. Turns out humility's a hell of a workout. Despite myself, I smiled. Ready? He asked. No, but let's go anyway. The living room went quiet when I walked in. Mom stood by the mantel. Dad near the couch. Sarah, Uncle Bob, Aunt Susan, Aunt Linda, who smiled at me with tears in her eyes. No extended cousins this time, just immediate family. James, Mom's voice shook. You came. I did. She moved like she wanted to hug me, stopped herself, respected the boundary. Thank you. I nodded. Dad stepped forward, extended his hand. His hand. Not a hug. Not presumptuous. Just an offering. I shook it. Son? Dad. We stood there. Two men who'd never quite understood each other. Dinner's ready, Mom said quickly, filling the awkward silence. If everyone wants to sit? The table was different, not the table itself, but the arrangement. No head and foot. No throne for Dad. Circular. Borrowed from the neighbors, apparently. Thought it might be better, Mom explained. Everyone equal. I caught Steve's eye. He shrugged slightly. His idea, the gesture said. We sat. I ended up between Steve and Sarah, across from me, Mom and Dad. Before we eat, Steve said, standing. Everyone looked at him. Oh no. I want to say something, because if I don't, I'll chicken out. He looked at me. 6 months ago, I bragged about a promotion at this table, about a $55,000 raise, treated it like I'd conquered the world. Amanda's absence felt loud. I had no idea my brother, he gestured to me, approved that promotion, that he'd founded the entire company I worked for, that he was worth more than everyone in this room combined. Mom shifted uncomfortably. But that's not the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part is that I never asked. None of us did. We just assumed. And our assumptions were so wrong they became a joke. Steve, Dad started. Let me finish, Dad. Steve's voice was firm. We called him an underachiever, made him feel invisible, and when he tried to share his life, we talked over him, every single time. He turned to me. I'm sorry. Genuinely sorry. Not because you're rich, not because you're successful, but because you deserve to be seen. And we refuse to look. Silence. Then Aunt Linda. I'm sorry too. I was at your graduation. I should have said something then. Sarah. I'm sorry I made everything about my cases, about my life. Uncle Bob. I'm sorry I compared your timeline to mine without knowing anything about your timeline. One by one, they apologized. Real apologies, specific, accountable, until only Mom and Dad remained. Mom spoke first. I'm sorry we made you feel invisible, that we gave you $50 gift cards while celebrating Steve's promotions, that we skipped your IPO for an awards banquet. Dad cleared his throat. I'm sorry I introduced you as the underachiever, that I answered for you, that I never asked about your work, your life. You. He met my eyes. I'm proud of you. I should have been proud all along. but I was too busy looking at the son I thought you should be to see the man you actually were. My chest tightened. Not with anger this time. With something else. Something complicated. Thank you, I said quietly. All of you. Does this mean we're okay? Mom asked hopefully. I thought about it. It means we're trying, and that's more than we had 6 months ago. Dinner was strange. Not bad strange. Just different. Dad asked about Datacrest. Actually asked. Listen to my answer. Enterprise software architecture. What does that mean exactly? I explained. He nodded. Asked follow-up questions. Mom wanted to know about my apartment. My life outside work. Are you dating anyone? Not seriously. Too busy. You should make time for that. Maybe, when things settle. Sarah asked about the acquisition. The $450 million one? How do you even process a deal that size? I walked her through it. Due diligence, negotiations, board approval. She listened like it mattered. Steve talked about his work, but differently now. Less bragging. More reflection. I'm thinking about transitioning to product management. Get closer to development. Understand what you built from the inside. That's a good path, I said. You'd be good at it. Really? Your sales background gives you client perspective. That's valuable in product. He smiled. Genuine. After dinner, Dad pulled me aside. We stood on the back porch. December cold biting through my jacket. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I know. But I want to understand. Why did you hide it? I looked at the backyard. The swing set from childhood still there. Rusted now. Remember when I was 12? I built that robot for the science fair. Vaguely? It took me 3 months. Coded the movements myself. Won first place at regionals. Okay. You didn't come. Steve had baseball practice. That was more important. Dad's face fell. When I tried to show you the robot at home, you said, "That's nice," and went back to watching the Mariners game. I realized then that my achievements only mattered if they fit your priorities. Jesus, he breathed. So when I founded Datacrest, when we got funding, when we went public, I didn't tell you because I knew. Deep down, I knew you'd find a way to minimize it. To make it about something else. Someone else. I would have. You would have. Unintentionally. But you would have. Because that's who you were. Who you'd always been. We stood in silence. Am I that person now? He finally asked. I don't know yet. But you're trying not to be. That's something. 10 p.m. Time to leave. I'd stayed longer than planned. Mom hugged me at the door. Real hug this time, not obligatory. Can we do this again? She asked. Maybe New Year's? Maybe, I'll let you know. That's fair. Steve walked me to my car. Thank you for coming, he said. Thank you for backing me up, for the circular table, for the speech. I meant every word. I know. We stood by my car. Brothers who'd found each other 6 months too late. Or maybe right on time. I got a job offer, Steve said suddenly. Different company, competitor. They're offering $195 base, same as Datacrest. My stomach tightened. You taking it? No, because I realized something. I'm not running from Datacrest. I was running from myself, from the embarrassment. But that's my shit to work through, not yours. You sure? Yeah, plus, he grinned slightly. The healthcare at Datacrest is way better. I laughed. Actually laughed. See you at work Monday? See you Monday, sir. He said it jokingly, but with respect. I drove away, watched the house shrink in my rearview mirror. That night, I sat in my apartment, city lights sparkling below. My phone buzzed. Marcus. How'd it go? Me. Better than expected. Weird, but better. Marcus. Progress. Me. Yeah, slow, painful, but progress. I thought about the circular table, the apologies, Dad's question on the porch. They were trying, actually trying. Would it be enough? Would we ever have the relationship I'd wanted as a kid? Probably not. Some things break too thoroughly to fully repair. But maybe that was okay. Maybe we didn't need to be what we were. Maybe we could be something new, something honest, even if it was smaller. 3 days later, I got an email from Forbes. Subject: Profile publication, the underachiever who wasn't. They'd published the article, full spread. Photo of me in my office, Datacrest story, the family revelation, but also my journey, the science fair robot, the graduation I walked alone, the IPO my family missed. The ending quote was mine. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about building something that matters. My family's recognition was never the goal. But their dismissal taught me that my value doesn't depend on who sees it. It exists regardless. Jennifer had approved it, said it captured the truth. I read it twice, then forwarded it to my family group chat. No message, just the link. Steve responded first. Proud of you, for real this time. Sarah: This is beautiful and heartbreaking, and I'm so sorry. Mom: My son, I see you now. I should have seen you all along. Dad: You were never the underachiever. We were the ones who failed to achieve basic parenting. Thank you for giving us another chance. I stared at the messages, felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But possibility. 6 months later, a full year after the dinner, I attended another family gathering. Steve's new promotion. Product manager, just like we'd discussed. He'd earned it. Through actual work, interviews, case studies. This time when he shared his news, he did it differently. I'm grateful for the opportunity. It's going to be challenging, but I'm ready. Then he looked at me. James helped me prepare, spent 3 hours reviewing my case study, gave me tough feedback, pushed me to think harder. Dad smiled. That's what brothers do. Yeah, Steve agreed. That's what brothers do. After dinner, Mom pulled out old photo albums. I found these, she said, from when you were kids. Pictures I'd forgotten, science fairs, school plays, birthday parties. In every photo, young me was smiling, trying to show something, holding up a project, an award, a creation, and in almost every photo someone was looking away. Mom saw it too. Her hand covered her mouth. Oh my God. It's okay, I said. It's not. I can see it now. You were always trying to show us, and we were always looking elsewhere. But you see me now. Only because we were forced to look, that's not the same. No, I agreed. It's not. But it's what we have. And maybe that's enough. I left that night thinking about visibility, about being seen versus being present. The truth was, my family saw me now. Finally. Completely. But I'd built Datacrest without them seeing me. Had created something revolutionary while being invisible. Their recognition didn't validate my success. Their dismissal hadn't diminished it. I was the board chairman whether they knew it or not. The underachiever label had died that November night 6 months ago. But so had my need for them to define me. I built Datacrest not to prove them wrong. I built it because I had to prove something to myself. They see me now. But only because someone else told them to look. That's not the same as being seen. And I've made my peace with that. Some bridges burn, some bridges rebuild, and some do both. We're rebuilding. Slowly. Imperfectly. But this time, I'm not waiting for them to see me. I'm just living. Building. Creating. And if they choose to look, they'll see what was there all along. Not an underachiever. Just a man who learned his value doesn't depend on who's watching.